What's up out there? I am going to release this impending darkness fight in a few chunks. I'm going to do the fight now, but instead of making a big, massive, long video, I'm going to break this up into a couple of pieces. The first thing we're going to do is this piece here, which is going to talk about the gear that I'm going to use with the fight. And then what I plan on doing with the fight is just showing the choices that I make with the debuffs and then the actual boss fight, because there's like 5 times you fight the boss or something like that. So rather than making an hour or 2 hour long video, I'm going to break this up. In this video, I want to talk about the gear. That way if anybody wants to follow this, or if you haven't seen this fight, this is how I'm gearing up for it. This may not be the meta today, but this is what I remember things to be. And it's been a very long time since I've done this fight. So for this video, we're going to talk about the gearing and the setup for it. And then the next video will be the actual fight itself. So right off the bat, I am running 3 pieces of Slayer gear, and I have my ranged Slayer helmet on here. The reason I do it this way is early on I did it because I couldn't remember the combat triangle at the top of my head, off the top of my head. It's kind of burned in and ingrained right now. But I put this on because it doesn't matter which piece of Slayer gear. It could be a helmet, it could be a chest piece, it doesn't matter. But what I do with this is put in the combat triangle, your ranged is weak to melee. So I put the ranged helmet in here just to remember, hey, I'm switch to ranged when I'm fighting. When a ranged enemy comes up, switch to melee, and this is the right one. It just makes sense. If I was to look at this and see a magic helmet there, it kind of just throws my mind off. So I've kind of gotten in the habit of that. So you will see that I have 3 pieces of Slayer gear. I have the melee or the ranged or the magic gear, whichever one, in the main slots like they're supposed to be. And then I have the weak against in the passive slot, if you want to look at it that way. I think I've got everything saved up in here of what I want things to be in the passive slot. The first Slayer area that you go through, basically, if you've never done Impending Darkness before, you go through, I believe, Shrouded Badlands, Perilous Peaks, Dark Waters, and Unhallowed Wasteland. And typically, you kind of do these backwards. You would do the Unhallowed Wasteland first, and then you do the Dark Waters fight, and then I believe we skip to Shrouded Badlands, and then back to Perilous Peaks. It's my understanding that the evasion rating one is what you want to fight the boss on, the main boss, so that's why you do that one last. And the Unhallowed Wasteland is the one that has the most difficult choices to make, or the most difficult Slayer area requirements to meet. So for instance, if I take this thing off and switch it, I'm good. So I don't need that helmet. Or we could switch the helmet out and I could switch this in, and then it's 5%. So I need the Slayer cape to be fully negated, and I don't need the helmet. So I can actually get more DPS now. The reason we can get more DPS is a couple of things. There might be some new stuff on the agility obstacles we can get, which I'll go over the agility obstacles I'm running. Number 1 and 2 don't count. Number 3, I'm taking Pipe Climb. We've got Mud Dive on number 4 for the plus 20 hit points. I don't think there was anything else that I wanted differently. And then on 5, we've got Cliff Balance. Again, it gives you some accuracy and hit points. On 6, we've got Rocky Waters with plus 50 max hit points. I actually switched that one out. I was on Lake Swim with 5% damage to all monsters with damage reduction. I ended up choosing to go to Rocky Waters. I believe the old meta was to use Rocky Waters because it gave you that extra hit points. Obstacle 7 does not matter because this one is all negatives. And because we're in Ancient Relic mode, I have the remove all debuffs from agility obstacles. So this one is the one that pays the most. That's the reason I have that one. And this is Ancient Relic mode. So if you're looking at this and thinking, why is this different than standard? That's why. We also have Pipe Crawl for 8% damage to Slayer area monsters because we're going to be fighting a lot of Slayer area stuff. My other option would be, the one that I would like is to get Swordfish for raft building, which gives you damage reduction, hit points, and 2% damage to all monsters. I don't have the Swordfish. We're here today, and I don't feel like getting more, so I'm going to try the fight like this. And then Obstacle 9 is Frozen Lake Crossing with 3% damage to all monsters, auto-eat efficiency, and the little bit of Slayer coin and XP, which doesn't matter. The options here would be, I don't know, this one here that I don't have cooking for, so it doesn't matter. And then on this one, we've got damage to all, ocean rafting on obstacle 10 for damage to all monsters, auto E deficiency, and Slayer coin we don't care about. The rest of these don't apply, so I wouldn't use any of the rest of them. So then Pillar of Combat. On the Cartography skill, I'm using the Perilous Peaks, which gives you plus 20% flat area, Slayer area negation effect. So that is another 20%, which is the reason that I don't have to equip the helmet, because the helmet gives you 20% flat Slayer negation. Because we've got that in Cartography now, I can actually use a damage dealer up here, which I'm going to use. We could use poison in here. Now that I see that, is there any advantage to something else with melee? We could do a defender, which gives the summoning. I don't really care about that. If I search up here for passive, we could do bleed with lifesteal and bleed, which speeds up the attack interval. That's definite possibility. The recoil shield might not be bad. Reflect 25% damage. More than once per turn. Yeah, think about that one. Summoning damage, summoning familiar damage. We don't need barrier stuff. We could do the weak stuff. I don't really care about that. These can go passive. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize you could do those as passive. Wonder if that's new, because I don't remember that being that way. I guess if I had to choose one, I was doing this 10% poison damage per attacker. That was for Slayer coin. I think on the melee side, we're going to equip this. This gives lifesteal, bleed lifesteal, 100% bleed lifesteal, and the attack interval, which the attack interval is going to be big. I will go ahead and set this over that. We're not going to be doing barrier stuff with this. So for my melee setup, on prayer, I'm running piety and chivalry. That way I get full accuracy for whatever that's worth. I thought about using battle heart, but that's towards the enemy, and max hit to minimum hit, enemy damage reduction, you get global evasion and stuff like that. I think I would rather try to get as much accuracy on melee as possible. That way I have it. Again, we're going to use this lifesteal with the 0.1% attack interval. There might be something better, but that's what I'm going to use. And we need the Slayer cape, we need the Slayer helmet, and we need the Slayer plate body to do all the negation. We're going to need the Hunter's Ring. I can certainly switch this out, but as soon as I do, that brings 10% of the healing back. And you can check that. If you're curious about how much Slayer negation you're going to get, you can read this right here. Enemies heal 10% of their current hit points every 2 turns. We can swap this over and you can see it change to 0. I want this to be 0. The big problem here is the Greater Skeletals and the Spiked Red Claws. The Spiked Red Claws were always the difficult one. These both stun, but the cool thing is it may not be as big a deal now because we have the, which one was that? Hit points? Minus 30% damage taken during stun, freeze, or crystallize. This does not say sleep. So anything that puts us to sleep, we still get that 30% damage taken. So I have to be careful about that. Let's see. So we're going to run the Elder Crown for a little bit of attack speed and bleed and all that. On the melee side, we've got the Slayer stuff. I've got the Elite Amulet of Defense. I'd love to have the Fury of the Elemental Zodiacs. We need the Slayer stuff on here with the Hunter's Ring for all the Slayer negation. I happen to have the Terran God Plates upgraded to the barrier version. I'm going to run these. I know it doesn't matter. But this does, no, that's familiar to barrier, flat barrier. So these really don't do much of anything for this. Are they actually different? Because if I die, I don't want to lose these. So that is not what I was looking for. These things here. If I go to, there's no difference in stats. So you know what? I'm going to equip those and I'm going to equip that. If there's no difference in stats, I'm going to just equip these like that. That way I don't have to worry about it. If I die, I don't have to lose my good stuff, which I'll probably do that for the others. We have the Terran God Gloves, and then we have, I'm going to run the Agile Gem. This gives 1%, minus 1% attack interval per attack turn, which stacks up to 10 times. That speeds this up. I'm running the Terran God Sword. I don't have a better sword. I could use the claws with the shield, but this gives 8% damage reduction, which is what the shield does. And this also has the Crushing Blow, which is an unavoidable attack, dealing 250% of your max hit points. So that will be good. When that connects, it's going to do a massive amount of damage. So I'm going to use that. And then we're running Minotaur and Yak tablets. On the magic side, I don't need to worry about this. So what I'm going to do is see what we have for passive stuff here. Oops, can't spell. On the magic side, what would be a good passive to have? This would be something that gives good magic damage. And this is all familiar stuff. I don't really care about summoning hits. I don't want that. Don't want that. Like, there's nothing really good for magic. That's Barrier Burn, which I don't care about in this. We could do... Man, what would we do? Weaken. Weaken might be good. I'm not seeing anything that's better. Like for magic, you know what I mean? Like, this has got minus 0.2% attack interval. That might be better for the melee side for the speed. We could go Elder Crown on this. Do Bleed Lifesteal. These are all passive. That's Reflect Damage. Magic Lifesteal. That might not be too bad. Fighting melee enemies with magic. 1% damage reduction when fighting melee enemies with magic. That might not be a bad idea to put on. Now, I thought it said passive. It says passive. Passive normally offers the button to... Yeah, see, this one you can do equip passive. That's crazy. That must be bugged. That doesn't work. All right, well, there we go. That is a problem. The one that I actually want to use, I can't use. Okay, so we go back to something else. None of this unholy stuff applies, which I'd have to use unholy on anyway. I don't care about gold at this point. I don't care about much of anything. 5 damage when using air. This one might not be bad. Plus 5 minimum damage when using air, water, earth, or fire spells. Plus 6%. Yeah, but we're using ancient magic, so I don't necessarily want that. We could do poison to attackers. And I'm probably spending way too much time overthinking this. Wasteful Ring I could throw on. Summoning Interval. 5% lifesteal. Does this one have a negative to it? Per attack turn, you gain 3% global accuracy, 5% lifesteal, and 5% max hit. This stacks up to 6 times and reset. Random curses applied to you and you take self-damage. Yeah, that's why I don't want to do that. So, God, I guess in absence of choice, there's like not really a whole lot that I want. For magic, cannot kill an enemy. We could reflect damage. We're going to be fighting a lot of melee stuff, so maybe I'll do this one in the passive slot. I'll do the recoil shield. I'll set that up for the recoil shield. I'll do the Elder Crown. That way we can just choose between the different options and see which one works better. And then I'll do this. I'll put this on here. And then we'll start with the recoil shield. If it doesn't look like it's doing anything, I'll switch to something else. Of course, we've got the Elite Amulet of Accuracy, all the Slayer negation stuff. I'm running the Earth Layered Shield because it has the most damage reduction. I have selected the different wands on here. I am currently running, which this gives you... Magic spells by air rune cost of magic spells by 3, which I'm not worried about the air rune cost. This gives no difference. That's just reducing the rune cost. Okay, so I guess it doesn't matter which one. Is there any difference? 32 defense, 2.6 interval, 32, 18, 2.6, 32, 18. Yeah, okay, so there's no difference. Okay, because I lost my Ocean Song, I don't have a different weapon. I don't want to use that one staff because it doesn't have damage reduction. I've got the Cloudburst staff. I don't want to use that. So I've got these to switch between, thinking that I was thinking that this had bonuses for the type of magic you're using, but it doesn't. I'm going to be using Gust because this is an unavoidable attack. Basically, if your accuracy rating is higher than 20k, you don't miss. So that's the one I'm going to use. I can't use any curses with it. I can use Surge 2 with it, so we'll do that. And then I'm running the Burning Gem because I want to light things on fire, which I've got the Witch and Dragon tablets for synergies. We've got the Glacier God gloves, the Glacier plate legs, and the Glacier boots. So that rounds out. And then the Magic Hinder Scrolls for minus 10% magic enemy magic evasion. With Augury and Mystic Mastery for all the accuracy and damage and everything you get out of that. On the range side, this one is going to be a no-brainer. We're going to go with the Deadeye Amulet. Do I want Deadeye Amulet? I will leave the Deadeye Amulet there, and I will go over here so that I can choose between. We'll do this in the passive also. So because I don't need anything up here for Slayer Negation, I'm going to run the Poison Virulence Ring. This gives you minus 30 max hit points. I need to remember that. So if I have to worry about hit points, like we're going from 1120, 1150, 1150. So everybody's 1150 aside from this one. But this one gives a chance to apply poison. And then when you equip both of these, you get some better bonuses and stuff like that. So I'm going to run that. If I run into issues with hit points and I need more, I'll swap this out. That brings my auto eat up to 460. With the Deadeye Amulet, that is 25% chance to deal 150% damage. I'll see which one's better because I actually ground out the Lagaran Worms, so I have both the Poison Virulence gloves and the Poison Virulence ring. I'm going to try to take advantage of that. I'm also running the Poisonous Gem, so I can apply poison there. Of course, I need to switch out the Era stuff. I don't have those. I do. What are these? When target is hit, 3% damage reduction. That is not good. That is not what I want. I was running that for a different purpose, so let's sort this stuff and equip these boots. That way I don't have to worry about losing my good boots. So we're running the normal God gear, the Elite Amulet of Ranged, and then Centaur and Unicorn tablets. Ideally, I'd have a lot more Centaur tablets, but it is what it is. So we're getting 7%, plus 7% ranged max hit as flat hit point generation. The synergy I'm using for the magic is plus 30 minimum damage for all standard magic spells, which I'm not using standard magic, but I'm really wanting that for the chance of burn. And then for this one, we're doing 2% damage reduction when fighting a ranged enemy, which we will be fighting. I may need to change that because I think we're locked into the combat styles. Like you have to fight melee to melee on the end boss. So we'll deal with all that once we get to the bossing part of it. And then I am running Diamond Lux. I might do damage reduction 4s if we need to, but it's going to be between those two. And that kind of rounds everything out. Astrology, I did this before. Everything in here, we've got this fancy, all modifiers in a completed astrology constellation are doubled. And I have completed every one that has combat. So Iridan is done. Terra is done. Vale, Nysa, Cilia, Arachi, Ko, Tellus, Haydn, and Kimmikin. So some of these don't necessarily apply. Like this one's non-combat. But everything else in here is doubled. So all these modifiers are doubled. So we're giving out, like, for instance, 10% reflect damage instead of 5%. We've got plus 80% accuracy, which is instead of plus 40%. Here's 10% lifesteal. So we've got a lot of good modifiers in here, and I think, are ready to go. So this is a little bit longer of a video, but I wanted to do this setup portion of it, and we'll release this one first. That way, if you're interested in the gear that I'm using or have comments or whatever, I don't have other gear. This is what I could grind out. I was not able to get anything from the underwater ruins. I ground these for days and I just couldn't get the water pole staff. So I didn't even bother with the rest of these. And I would have loved to have gotten the combination gem and some other things going. Just don't have enough time. There's only so much time in the day. It takes forever to idle some of this stuff. I've been trying to not do as much as I can. Like instead of sitting down and actually creating bolts, I've avoided that. I'm going to use jadestone bolts, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. But I've been avoiding doing some of the busy work just to try to keep getting stuff. I tried to do as much farming as I could this week instead of crafting, but then I just ran out of time and I wasn't able to get anything. I didn't want to let it run overnight last night. On combat, I kind of got to a point where I created all the summoning tablets that I could think of, aside from these centaur ones. I forgot about that. But like I had to go make up a bunch of yak tablets, which meant I had to go make shields, and then you know what I mean, that whole process. So I had to do all that. So last night I let it idle on wood cutting. So I now have 99 wood cutting, which is good because that unlocks some stuff in township. Now I can get what can I get? Woodbox 2. Yeah, so we can go take out Woodbox 2, get a whole bunch of redwood logs, which I need redwood logs for this upgrade right here, which I just got enough redwood logs for, and now I can buy that upgrade, and now I need to go get the rest of this stuff built up. That just helps out the other stuff. So anyway, that is going to do it for this video. I will come back with another video for the actual combat portion of it. And that will do it for this one. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.